Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol, Nitai Gora, Hare Bol, Nitai Gora, Hare Bol, Nitai Gora, Hare Bol. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paraprajakacharya Sutara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paraprajakacharya Asutara Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Premsi Goho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai, Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Devi Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai, Lord Nrsimha Deva Ki Jai, Shri Shalagram Shilas Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktavinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachani Namaste Sasumradi Paschachadi Satani. Okay, I'm going to ask if you don't mind, even if you do mind, as long as you don't mind too much, if you can keep your speakers off, but turn on your videos. I appreciate it. It's just easier to talk to people than to talk to myself. Although there's a saying that people who talk to themselves have money in the bank, but it didn't seem to work so well. Okay, we're going to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the first canto, chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service, text 16. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So I guess everyone can repeat. Shu Shu Sho. Well, do you have the verse there? Wait a minute. Very good. Shu Shu Sho Shraddha Danasya
Sushrusho
Shraddhadanasya
Shraddhadanasya
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Vasudeva
Vasudeva
Kataruchi
Kataruchi
Janmahat Sevaya Vipra
Syan
Mahatsevaya
Mahatsevaya
Vipra
Vipra
Punyatirtha Nishevanat
Punyatirtha
Punyatirtha
Nishivana
Nishevanat
Shushusho Shvahadanasya
Sushrusho Shraddhadanasya
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Vasudeva
Vasudeva
Kataruchi
Kataruchi
Janmahat Sevaya Vipraha
Syan
Shyan
Mahatsevaya
Mahatsevaya
Vipra
Vipra
Punyatirtha Nishevanat
Punyatirtha
Punyatirtha
Nishevanat
Nishivana
Shushusho Shvahadanasya
Shushusho
Sushrusho
Shraddhadanasya
Shraddhadanasya
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Vasudeva
Vasudeva
Kataruchi
Kataruchi
Janmahat Sevaya Vipraha
Syan
Mahatsevaya
Mahatsevaya
Vipra
Vipra
Punyatirtha Nishevanat
Punyatirtha
Punyatirtha
Nishevanat
Nishivana
Sushrusho Shraddhadanasya
Shushusho Shraddhadanasya
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra
Shyan Mahatsevaya Vipra
Punyatirtha Nishevanat
Punyatirtha Nishivana Shushusho Shraddhadanasya
Shushurusho Shraddhadanasya
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Shyan Mahatsevaya Vipraha
San Mahatsevaya Vipra
Punyatirtha Nishevanath
Punyatirthani Shivana
Susroso Shraddhadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nisevanat
Shushushadhanasya
Sya
Vasudeva Katharuchi
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Yan Mahatsevaya Vipraha
Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra
Punyatirtha Nishevanat
Punyatirtha Nisevanat
Shushushadhanasya
Shraddhadanasya
Vasudeva Katharuchi
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Shayan Mahatseva Vipraha Sayan
Mahatsevaya Vipra
Punyatraha
Titha
Titha Nishtvaya
Punyatirtha
Shushushadhanasya
Anasya
Vasudeva
Vasudeva
Katharuchi
Kataruchi
Sayan
Mahatsevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nisevanat
Shushurusho Shraddhadanasya
Shushroshodhanasya
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Vasudeva Kataruchi
Shyan Mahatsevaya Vipra
Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra
Punyatirthani Shevanat
Punyatirtha Nisevanat
Shusho. One who is engaged in hearing
One is to engage
in hearing.
Shraddhadanasya,
Pradhanasya
with care and attention.
with
Care
care.
and attention.
Vasudeva,
Vasudeva
in respect to Vasudeva.
in
In
respect to
respect to Vasudev.
Ka,
Katha.
the message.
the
The
message.
message.
Ruchi,
Ruchi.
affinity.
Affinity.
Yat
Syat
is made possible.
is made possible.
Mahat Sevaya,
Mahat Sevaya.
by service rendered to pure devotees.
By service rendered to pure devotee.
devotees.
Praha,
Nipraha.
O twice born.
O twice born.
Punyatirtha,
Punyatitra.
those who are cleansed of all vice.
Those who are cleansed of all vice.
Nishevanat,
Nishevanat
by service.
by service.
O twice born sages, the service, those devotees who are completely freed. No, I'm sorry, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. There are men called Deva, or godly living beings, and there are men called Asuras, or demons, who are against the authority of the Supreme Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, a vivid description of the Asuras is given, in which it is said that the Asuras are put into lower and lower states of ignorance, life after life, and so sink to the lower animal forms and have no information of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. These Asuras are gradually rectified to God consciousness by the mercy of the Lord's liberated servitors in different countries according to the supreme will. Such devotees of God are very confidential associates of the Lord. And when they come to save human society from the dangers of godlessness, they are known as the powerful incarnations of the Lord, as sons of the Lord, as servants of the Lord, or as associates of the Lord. But none of them falsely claim to be God themselves. This is blasphemy declared by the Asuras, and the demoniac followers of such Asuras also accept pretenders as God or his incarnation. In the revealed scriptures, there is definite information of the incarnations of God. No one should be accepted as God or an incarnation of God unless he is confirmed by the revealed scriptures. The servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, and they preach according to a particular time and place. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. They never tolerate being called God. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God himself according to the indication of the revealed scriptures, but he played the part of a devotee. People who knew him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears and his hands with his hands and chant the name of Lord Vishnu. He strongly protested against being called God, although undoubtedly he was God himself. The Lord behaves so to warn us against unscrupulous men who take pleasure in being addressed as God. The servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. By serving the servant of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord, and so are very dear to the Lord. The Lord declares in Bhagavad Gita 1869 that no one is dearer to him than one who takes everything, than one who risks everything to preach his glories. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants, and thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of God. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. And the translation again, or the verse again. Shushusha Shradadanasya Vasudeva Kata Ruchi Shan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanat. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. So here in this verse, it's giving us if everyone could turn on your videos, I appreciate it. Here in this verse, we can see the way we can develop the affinity, the way we can develop the quality or the desire to hear about Krishna is by serving the pure devotees of the Lord. So we're going to use Srila Prabhupada as the perfect example. And serving ISKCON is serving Srila Prabhupada. He established ISKCON. I believe he said ISKCON is his body. But this is a way we can serve Prabhupada. Serving Prabhupada by following his instructions. So we have to know what his instructions are. By following those instructions, we're serving Srila Prabhupada. So and by doing this, we will develop the desire to hear about Krishna, which is a very important desire to develop. So the conditioned life of a living being is caused by his revolting against the Lord. So we're in this material world. Revolting against the Lord revolting is a very powerful word. But that's what we did. We went against the Lord, and that's why we're here. You know, a person in the prison house isn't there because he was just a good person and he didn't do anything wrong. They're in the prison house because they were criminals. So similarly, we're in this prison house, in this material world, because we are criminals. Because we're trying to enjoy like the Lord. So the asuras are against the authority of the Lord. So whatever the Lord says, they don't care. They come up with their own things. And Prabhupada explains in the 16th chapter, asuras are given, in which it is stated, asuras are put into lower and lower states of ignorance, life after life, and sink to the lower animal forms. So sometimes we see terrible things happen to people in this material world quite often. If you read the news, so many terrible things happen in this world. And some of the things, especially when they happen to children. But even when they happen to children, we should feel compassion. That's a natural instinct of the soul, at least of a saintly person, is to feel compassion for these living entities. That's why Srila Prabhupada has come here to this material world and is helping the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead by serving him. We render service to him. We respect him. We listen to him, follow his instructions. And by doing that, we can actually go back home, back to Godhead. So we should feel compassion when someone is suffering. We see someone is suffering when we can actually see they're really suffering. Something's wrong with them. They got this problem, that problem. But the pure devotee sees everyone who's suffering because its material world is a place of suffering. And what's the use of being here? You might seem like everything is great, but you're actually suffering. Birth, disease, old age, and death. Everyone has to suffer in that way. So therefore, the pure devotee sees people are not happy. Their happiness he sees as Chapala Sukha flickering. He sees that their happiness is there and it's gone. It's not real happiness. Real happiness doesn't end. When you're associating with Krishna, when you're back in the spiritual world, it's not like you get to a point and you say, wow, that was great, and now you just relax. It's ever increasing transcendental happiness. We can't even experience with this material body. Well, now we can't experience it. We can experience it while we're still in this material body, but we can't experience it with our material body. So this is the ultimate happiness, and people who are not enjoying God consciousness are suffering. So the pure devotee sees everyone as suffering and feels compassion and tries to help them. In other words, we look at somebody who's very wealthy, has a wonderful family, he has a great job, and he's very respected. He's got all good things. We don't really feel sorry for him. But the pure devotee feels sorry for him because he sees he's suffering. We feel sorry for someone we can see is, something happened to him, some accident, whatever it might be. But even when we see, we have to see we can't really see the whole picture, but we have to kind of see both ways. One way is the way we naturally feel, that we want to help these people. And the other way is that someone is put into a situation because of their past life. People who are asuras, they're in ignorance, and they get lower and lower in the mode of ignorance until they actually get animal bodies. So we have to see that it's people's karma when things happen, but we shouldn't be considering that, especially when it just happens. But at least for our own understanding, we have to see that when something bad happens to someone, that's their karma. And for a devotee, if something bad happens to a devotee, it's his purification. Krishna's given him special mercy. So this is for the devotee. We can see ourselves that this is our karma. This is what I deserve. Actually, we should see ourselves, I deserve even worse than this. But if it happens to another devotee, we should, of course, try to help them in any way possible. Some suffering befalls them. So we simultaneously have compassion, but we also try to see the whole picture, so we just don't get so depressed and you just can't even function. So the asuras, they fall down. Devotees of God are very confidential associates of the Lord, and when they come to save human society from the dangers of godlessness, they are known as they're known as different things: the powerful incarnations of the Lord, as sons of the Lord, as servants of the Lord, or as associates of the Lord. But none of them falsely claim to be God themselves. So you don't see that. Of course, in the Christians, Jesus is considered the Son of the Lord. He's considered I had that question, the begotten Son or something. I don't remember something, but he's the Son of the Lord. And he says, we don't know for sure what he says, but he says, I and my Father are one. That's what they quote. So if he is one with his father, now if let's say you or some friend of yours quotes, me and my father are one. Now, what are you going to think? You're not going to think, oh, you're your father. That would be pretty foolish. You're going to think you're one in purpose, you're one in desires, you think alike. But now they're saying, Jesus is God, that he's, because he said him and his father are one. So that's an offense, actually, to think that way. Not that Jesus is thinking that way. We don't even know what, it's blaspheming to say that an ordinary, maybe not ordinary, an extraordinary living entity or Jiva's soul is God. That's an offense. Now, the servants of God are respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to God. So this time, sometimes people might misunderstand. We say so much, they're not God. They know they're not God. They don't want to be treated as God or accepted as God, but we should treat them because they're the representative of God. Just like we have a president, and sometimes there's a representative of this country who diplomats, and they go to some foreign country and they get respected as if they were the president because they're representing the president. So similarly, the representative of God should be respected as God. And I would say to the degree in which they're surrendered to God. In other words, Srila Prabhupada was fully surrendered to God, so we should pretty much treat him as God. And other devotees, we don't have to treat in that same way. When I say other devotees, I'm talking about myself mainly, so I'm not trying to say in any way whatsoever that I should be treated any special way. So, because I'm not anything like these devotees. But we still respect all devotees, no matter where they're at. And Prabhupada explains how different devotees get treated differently. There's the different degrees of devotees. There's the neophyte devotees, and we respect them within our mind. And there's Madhyama Adhikaris, and then we, offer obeisances and respect them. And then there's Uttamadhikaris, who we give, of course, the most respect. So even different devotees, we actually treat them differently according to their position. We may not be judging. We don't have to judge. Well, let me make a whole list of see where everybody stands. But in general, we can see this is a more advanced devotee, so a less advanced devotee, but we treat all devotees, even non-devotees, we treat with respect. One of the things, I've said this several times, that I found when I first went to the temple, the very first day is in October 1971. And I remember when I left the temple, I thought that I never was treated so nicely anywhere in my life. And it wasn't like I just stayed there. I traveled all over the world because I was in the service. We didn't just stay with service. We tried to get away from the service and meet other people. But I've been treated really nice in different places, but nowhere as well as in New York City, in Brooklyn, in 1971. And New York City people aren't known for treating you so nicely, but they did because they were devotees. So that's where we should treat anyone who comes to our temple once we open our temple. So this is really nice. This is explaining basically Srila Prabhupada that such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, and they preach according to particular time and place. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord They never tolerate being called God. And then talks about Lord Chaitanya. He was God himself. And when people called him God, he held his ears. He didn't want to hear it. Not because he was just God himself and he was just playing a game. He was acting as a devotee. He was behaving as a devotee. He was teaching us how a devotee behaves. So because of that, when they called him God, he did not like it at all. At least not externally. He may have liked it internally because these people were very advanced and could understand he was God. So the servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. So what we have to do is we have to cooperate. Actually, when Prabhupada left, when he was on his deathbed, he said, "You show your love for me by how you cooperate." So we have to cooperate and work as a team and not have our false egos collide because this person's like that and I'm like this and therefore I can't get along with that person. I mean, sometimes it happens and better not to associate with the person at all. But the higher principle would be to not let these little petty things interfere with your devotional service. You should be able to work with everybody. We should get rid of this false ego or not act on this false ego. We should just do what's best. And sometimes the people behave so obnoxiously and we can't, so we just associate with them nicely by just Hare Krishna and we don't really do much with them. Because they're different classes of devotees. So some devotees may not be so advanced, they may be a little immature. So we don't have to associate with them in the same way. But at the same time, we don't disrespect them, or we shouldn't disrespect them, and we shouldn't behave in an inimical way towards them. Sometimes it's best to avoid certain people because they're just very inimical or whatever, but at the same time, we should be nice to them. So by serving the servant of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. So this, we all should know this. To serve the representative is more pleasing to the Lord than serving the Lord himself. In the case of the Lord, what can you do? He's got everything, But if he sends his representative and you treat his representative nicely, it's easy way to please him. Very easy way. So he sent his representative in the form of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada was here for just a small amount of years. And in that time, he established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and it's perpetually increasing by his arrangement and management and how to organize it. But the main thing we have to do is stick to the basic principles that he has established. There's a saying, we can preach according to time, place, and circumstance. So, but our preaching still has to be the same basic thing, but we may have to say it a little differently to a different audience. The Lord declares in the Bhagavad Gita that no one is dearer to him than one who risks everything to preach his glory. So preaching, that's another thing. You want to please Prabhupada. When he was here, it was very clear that he stressed book distribution more than he stressed anything else. And the book distribution, why? They get a book and at a certain time, Krishna in their heart will get them to pick up that book. Sometime everybody has happiness and distress in this world. So when they're distressed, sometimes they may read something in this book. They may pick it up, open it up anywhere and hear exactly what they need to hear. And then eventually they become devotees. So these books are the best way to preach, not just when Prabhupada was here, but even after Prabhupada leaves, then this is the best way to preach, because now they have Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, I am present in my books. So this is Prabhupada they're associating with in these purports. So by serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants. That's really interesting, because if you want to be humble, you serve somebody who's humble. You know, if you want certain qualities, you serve those devotees. Of course, you shouldn't be looking like, well, this is where I get my humility from. This is where I get my my memorization. I'll serve this person so I can remember more verses. I mean, we shouldn't be calculating like that. But basically, by serving the devotees, you develop their qualities. By sincerely serving, not just artificially, I'm just doing this so I can get this. It's not a business. And thus one becomes qualified, this is by serving the devotees, one becomes qualified to hear the glories of God. And the eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. When we really want to hear, like we have on this, we have 28 people who are listening to this class. Why? You can be doing so many other things, but you're listening because you want to. This is the first qualification to become eligible to enter into the kingdom of God, to want to hear about him. This is a wonderful qualification. So I'm going to read at least the next verse. I don't know if I have time for the purport and everything, but Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So now, to get the desire, you serve Prabhupada, you serve ISKCON, you serve the pure devotees. Then you get the desire to hear. And then Sri Krishna in Paramatma, Super Soul, in everyone's heart, he's there. He cleanses desires for material enjoyment. We all have so many desires for material enjoyment in our heart. But he cleanses those desires from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages. So that's the way to develop the urge, by serving the pure devotees. And when we develop the urge, he cleanses material desires from our heart by hearing about him. And it says, by hearing his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Properly heard is you accept it as it is. You don't try to change it. You don't try to add anything to it or take anything away. That's properly hearing. Hearing from the authority, not hearing from the Mayavadi, not hearing from the impersonalist, but hearing from the devotee of the Lord. And if you hear in this way, then those messages are virtuous. Then they cleanse desires for material enjoyment from the heart. So it all starts by the pure devotee coming, and certain people listen to him, are attracted to him. Certain people aren't. But those who are, then they develop the urge to hear these messages. And by developing these urge to hear these messages, material desires decrease. So this is, I'm not going to read this purport yet, but I might, because I want to just see if people have questions. I can see certain people here, but I can't see everyone. But if you have a question, maybe, I don't know if you could raise your hand, or even if I don't see you, you can raise your hand a different way. I don't know if I see everybody though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20. I see 25 and there are 30, so I don't see them all. Anyway, just say, if anyone have a question, just say it. Getting too complicated to try to do the raising hands business. No one has a question? Well, I'm prepared for that. That's why I left the purport. So I'm going to read the purport to this second verse. Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ridyantas Dohya Badrani Vidunoti Suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Even when Srila Prabhupada came here, he said that it's not like he knows so much scriptures, he knows this, knows that, but he has firm faith in the holy name. So just by hearing the holy name, he had faith, people will become purified. Purport. Messages of the personality of God at Sri Krishna are non-different from him. So that's because he's absolute. Anything about him is not different from him. So when you're hearing these messages about him or from him, his instructions in Bhagavad Gita, then that is not different from him. And because he is God, he's supremely pure. Actually, we had a little class yesterday where he can purify anyone and anything, and he doesn't become contaminated. An example was like the sun can purify a dirty place, but doesn't become contaminated. So this is by hearing these messages, we're associating with God and we get purified. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing and glorification of God are undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. There's no difference between Hare Krishna and Krishna himself. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shikshastaka declares that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potencies. So his names have the same potencies as he does. There is no rigid fixture of time, and anyone can chant the holy name with attention and reverence at his convenience. So you can chant whenever you can. The Lord is so kind to us that he can be present before us personally in the form of transcendental sound. But unfortunately, we have no taste for hearing and glorifying the Lord's name and activities. So we don't have so much taste, but we're trying to develop a taste. Some of us definitely have more of a taste than others, but we should make ourselves do it even if we don't have a taste, and we will develop a taste. Actually, one of the cures for jaundice is sugar candy or sugar. But when you take sugar, when you have jaundice, sugar is very bitter. It tastes bitter, but it's the medicine. So if you take this sugar, it tastes bitter, but you gradually get purified. And as you're getting cleansed of this jaundice, the sugar tastes sweeter and sweeter. And then finally, the sugar tastes as sweet as sugar tastes, and you taste the sweetness of sugar, and then you're completely cured. So similarly, in the beginning, hearing may not be so tasteful because we're in a diseased condition. But as we hear, we get purified of that contaminated disease. And then by that purification, we can taste this nectar. And then we want to just hear and chant. So we have already discussed developing a taste for hearing and chanting the holy sound. It is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. So by accepting the pure devotee, serving the pure devotee, we hear and chant by the medium of the pure devotee. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord and has thus become eager to hear about him, The Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few men want to go back to Godhead. But anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. So I like one sentence here. Krishna wants us to go back to him more than we can possibly desire to go back to him. So we want to go back. Every one of us wants to go back to Godhead, live there eternally in a spiritual body and get free from birth, disease, old age, and death, and this material world of suffering, and just enjoy eternal happiness. So we do want to go back, but we don't want to go back even knowing all these things as much as Krishna wants us back. And all we have to do is serve the pure devotee, please the pure devotee, then desire a taste to hear these messages, and that's it, and start hearing. So one cannot enter into the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleansed of all sins. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It's very difficult to get rid of such desires. Woman and wealth are very difficult problems for the devotee making progress on the path back to Godhead. Many stalwarts in the devotional line fell victim to these allurements and thus retreated from the path of liberation. But when one is helped by the Lord himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything by the divine grace of the Lord. So serve the pure devotee, hear as much as you can, and it becomes easy as anything. So become restless in the contact of woman and wealth is not an astonishment, because every living being is associated with such things from remote time, practically immemorable. Anyway, and it takes time to recover from the foreign nature. But if one is engaged in hearing the glories of the Lord, gradually he realizes his real position. By the grace of God, such a devotee gets sufficient strength to defend himself from the state of disturbances. And gradually all disturbing elements are eliminated from his mind. So right now we all have disturbing elements in our mind, but Krishna, by making ourselves hear and chant, we actually cleanse some some of these desires. Krishna in our heart cleanses these desires that we have for material sense gratification. To the degree in which we surrender, he does. And surrender to hearing and chanting. Chanting our rounds, chanting nice rounds. So it's a simple process. Serve Srila Prabhupada's mission. Serve ISKCON. You're serving Srila Prabhupada. And by serving Srila Prabhupada, you're developing a desire to hear. Actually, we're serving Srila Prabhupada by reading these books. So, any questions?
Hare Krishna, this is Pranav Govindas Janotnam. Thank you very much, bro. Very wonderful class. Explained the gist of a devotional service, that is serving the pure devotees, and then getting engaged. And best way is to do the practical service, and book distribution is on top. And along with that, the other services which we do, but that is also non-different. I just have one quick question. That in our first half of life, we do a lot of services like physical services, kind of where we can do book distribution and all. But once in second half, when we get old, what are the practical services which we can do to attract Lord's mercy in the same way as we do in the first half of our life? Thank you.
Well, first of all, when you get old, it depends how old, it's your physical services kind of diminish gradually. It's not like, okay, now I'm 50, I don't do any more physical service, or 60 or whatever. So you can still do some, but then you also, when you're older, then you have the opportunity to help others too, to preach to the devotees, because you have a lot of experience. And actually, experience is really helpful in preaching, because somebody comes up with some problem, something's happening to them, and you actually already had that same experience. So it's easier. You dealt with it, you figured out how to deal with it, and then you're able to explain it to somebody else. I mean, of course, you don't have to have every experience to preach to the devotees, but sometimes, at least in my own life, I see that I've gone through certain things, and then Krishna, some other devotees having that same problem, and I happen to talk to him so I can help him. So you can preach to the devotees, shouldn't stop preaching.
Okay.
I mean, even Srila Prabhupada, of course, he never stopped. Even on his deathbed, he was still translating Bhagavatam. He didn't stop. Of course, it slowed down. He couldn't do it. If you see the video of him, he's on his deathbed, they have the microphone right next to his mouth. They read the verse and he speaks the purport into the microphone. He didn't have much strength to speak, but he still continued. So he did until the last breath, he's just constantly rendering service. His rendering of service was helping the fallen conditioned souls, translating these books, encouraging the devotees to distribute these books. Very important. So we have to just do what we can. If you can't, there's no material impediment to devotional service. Anyone
Yeah.
can engage in devotional service. So if materially you can't serve in this particular way, just like lifting those boxes yesterday, Prananath Govind, I lift them sometimes, but I know I shouldn't, because if I do, it really hurts my knees and my back. So fortunately, we had enough devotees there where I didn't have to carry them yesterday. And I encouraged everyone, as you know. You have to do what you can. And it's also gradual. It's not, generally it's gradual. It could be automatic. You have a car accident and you can't do much, you're in a wheelchair or something. Then it's not gradual, but generally for old age, it's gradual, and gradually you start doing less of one thing and more of another thing. But it's because it's absolute, it doesn't make one bit of difference which service you're doing. But you should be working according to whatever Krishna wants. And if you can, there's plenty of physical things you can do.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much. That's wonderful to hear that, we can continue, in throughout our life till last breath. And this Jyosna service is so practical and tested. Thank you, Haribol.
Yeah, it's not like some of these African tribes, when the persons get old and they can't do anything, then they just sacrifice them. So you can still do something different. You have to change different type of service, but you can still render service, and they're all absolute. There's not one is better than another. Okay, any other questions? We only got 2 minutes, I think.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Pyari Mohan Prabhuji, I hope you recall talking to me, Subhash Dulekar
Oh,
from
yes.
Farmington.
Yes.
So I thank you, Damodar Das Prabhuji, for sending the link at this time, and we were able to attend this session. From service point of view, Pyari Mohan Prabhuji, I got a call from ISKCON Vizag, Visakhapatnam, India. They have a event on February 26th, I believe, if my date is correct. on an occasion of Trayodashi, and they were requesting if we could help in the book distribution for Bhagavad Gita. So they have requested 200 copies to be distributed to the devotees who would come to the temple that day. And we have committed the 200 Bhagavad Gita sponsorship to them. So just wanted to share this, that whatever sitting here we can do with not much of physical service, but anything to distribute the message and spread the word, and more people to take benefit of the core message of Bhagavad Gita, and also support our ISKCON temples and community. So just wanted to share this information with you.
Well, that's very nice. We can always do devotional service. Even if you can't physically do it, you could donate or support those who are doing it. So I think we have to move this table over now to the altar. I think the conch shell is going to blow. Thank you all very much. We're going to have Arti now, so please don't leave. Hare Krishna, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय, श्री गौर निताई की जय। जय प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद श्रील प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद जय प्रभुपद जय श्रील प्रभुपद जय जय प्रभुपद। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमः। विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्यत देशकारिणे नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्यतादेशकारिणे की जय जय गौरचंदे कार्तिक शोभा की जय जय गौरचंदे कार्तिक शोभा जानवी तटवाणी जगमान लोभा जानवी तटवाणी जगमान लोभा गाथी निताई Mame Gadadhara Dakine Nikanjan Mame Gadadhara Nikate Advaita Shri Vasa Chhatradhara Nikate Advaita Shri Vasa Chhatradhara Doshi Ache Gaurachan Ratana Shimasane Doshi Ache Gaurachan Ratana Shimasane Arati Korena Brahma Abhidevagane Arati Korena Brahma Abhidevagane Dora Hari Adi Kori Chamara Julaya Dora Hari Adi Kori Chamara Julaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Goshaya Digaya Sanjaya Mukunda Vasu Goshaya Digaya Shankha Baje Ghanta Baje Baje Karatara Shankha Baje Ghanta Baje Baje Karatara Madhura Mridanga Baje Paramarasara Madhura Mridanga Baje Paramarasana Shankha Baje Ghanta Baje Madhur 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 Baje Shankha Baje Ghanta Baje Madhur 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 Baje Shankha Baje Ghanta Baje Madhur 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 Baje Shankha Baje Ghanta Baje Madhur 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 Shankha Baje Ghanta Baje Madhur 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 Baje Shankha Baje Ghanta Baje Madhur 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 Baje Madhur 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 Baje Madhur 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 Baje Madhur 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 Baje Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Parana Ujjala. Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Vadana Ujjala. Jala Deshe Bana Mala Kore Jala Mala Jala Deshe Bana Mala Kore Jala Mala Shiva Sukhana Raga Preme Gadada ni gada gada bhakti vinoda dekhe gaurara sampada bhakti vinoda dekhe gaurara sampada gaurangera roti kushobha jaga janamana nova gaurange arati 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 kushobha jaga janamana nova jaga janamana nova jaga janamana nova jaga janamana nova Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srimad Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Radha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srimad Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhatana Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhatana Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Someone saying that.
Yes, Mataji. Should we start Nashing Arti?
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stadhara Satta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jagadguru Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stadhara Satta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prams Ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Brajabhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Purushottam Kshetra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Ganga Maya Ki Jai Jamuna Maya Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Srimati Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Brihat Vidanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Sadguru Swami Prabhu Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol Shri Ekadashi Ki Jai all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Okay.
You can start, Madan Mohan. We can't hear.
Prabhu, can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear. Go ahead.
Okay. Start from beginning. Namaste Narasimhaya Hiranyakashi Purvaksha Shila Chankana Kalare Vito Nashima Parato Nashima Yato Yato Yami Tato Nashima Bhagi Nashima Hridaye Nashima Narasingha Madhim Sharanam Prabhade
Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare. Jayo Nrsimhadev, Jayo Nrsimhadev, Jayo Nrsimhadev, Jayo Nrsimhadev. Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Bhagwan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Hari Hari Bol.
Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, you have last minute sign up for sponsor for today?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, your voice is little breaking. Can you repeat what you said?
Okay, Prabhu, just give me one moment.
Yeah, now it's better, Prabhu. Maybe you can start
Now it's
from
better? Oh.
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah, but no, I think I am getting some feedback. So just give me one moment. I'm not able to hear. Yes, Prabhuji, am I audible now?
Yes. Good.
Okay. Sorry about that, Prabhuji. And I'm trying to share my screen. Just give me one moment. Yes, so I was just checking with Jiva Mataji, Pyari Prabhuji. Did we have any last moment sign-ups for any sponsors for today?
No.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. So unfortunately, we do not have any sponsors for today. If anyone is interested in sponsoring our program for today or is inspired to sponsor for any of our upcoming Sunday programs, you can let us know now, or you may contact His Grace Pyari Mohan Prabhuji or Jiva Mataji at the temple phone number, which is displayed on your screen. Sponsorship for our regular Sunday programs is only $125.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. If there's no sponsor, we'll sponsor. This is Darsh, Preeti, and Satyendra.
Hari Bol. So we have Satyendra Prabhu, Preeti Mataji, and Darsh Prabhuji sponsoring for today's program. Hari Bol. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. And today is also Ekadashi, so happy Ekadashi to everyone. And it's a day of fasting from grains and beans and chanting more rounds of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and reading more of Srila Prabhupada's books. And we will be having our special Ekadashi Bhajan Kirtan program right after our regular Sunday program agenda. So that will be around 6 o'clock today. So please stay tuned after this, and we will be having the fast breaking is tomorrow, February 8th, that is Monday. So have a good rest of the Ekadashi day, and we will dedicate the rest of our day to remembrance of the Lord. Talking of our upcoming celebrations, February 24th is Nityananda Trayodasi. Hari Bol! So you may mark the dates on your calendar, and we will be sharing the details of the celebrations that we are going to organize on behalf of ISKCON of Connecticut very soon with you. It will be circulated over emails and also through our WhatsApp groups that we have, so devotees will get to know. So this is just a reminder that you can mark your calendars and save the date, February 24th. And in all probabilities, we will be having some celebration on the day of Nityananda Prabhu's appearance, as well as on the following Sunday, where we will be having some celebration as part of the Sunday program. So if anyone is interested in sponsoring for that as well, you may contact His Grace Pyari Mohan Prabhuji or Her Grace Jiva Mataji. And also for any outstation sponsors, if anybody is interested in sponsoring who is not living in and around this ISKCON temple in and around Connecticut, we also will be making arrangements to mail the Mahaprasadam to them. So you can bear that in mind as well. So we are going to continue our online regular programs. We have some new additions there as well. So you can find all the details on this ISKCON of Connecticut website. The link is also displayed on your screen, and a little snapshot is presented here on your screen right now. The participation details are the standard ISKCON of Connecticut Zoom. The details are also displayed on your screen. So please make every endeavor to join as many programs as you can, because they're very enriching and we're having very lively discussions and learnings. And with that, now we will move over to have more chanting for our sponsors.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Prabhuji, is Nityananda Trayodasi is 24th or 25th?
Mataji, I see probably at Connecticut is it 25th? The BBT calendar here says 24th, so it could be that in Connecticut it's 25th. But anyway, we will be sharing the details in our official email communication that will be going out.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, we will be moving over to more chanting for our sponsors. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरिनाम संकीर्तन की
जय श्रीला प्रभुपाद की
जय।
जय।
गौर प्रेमानंदे,
हरि हरि बोल।
सत्येंद्र प्रभु दर्श प्रीति माता जी की
जय।
Mother, can we have closer darshan of Prabhupada also?
Jiva Mataji, Pyari Prabhu, would you like to have one more time close-up darshan of Srila Prabhupada? Would like to provide us another darshan? Hare Krishna Mataji, I think Ganpati Govind Prabhuji is requesting if we could have a close-up darshan of Srila Prabhupada one more time.
Yes.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much, Pyari Mohan Prabhuji and Jiva Mataji, for the close-up darshan. And thank you very much, everybody, once again, for joining us this evening on the special Sunday program on Ekadashi. And please don't go away, because we will now move over to the second phase of our continued celebrations this evening with Ekadashi Bhajan Kirtan. So we will first have Aviram Divya Prabhuji and Nikunja Sitarani Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji. We can start our Ekadashi Bhajan with you.
Hari Hari Bol.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, Say Mora Sampada, Say Mora Sampada, Say more bhajana pujana, Say more bhajana pujana, Say mora pranadhana, Say mora pranadhana, Say mora abharana, Say mora abharana, Say more jivanera jivana, Say more jivanera jivana, Say more rasanidhi, Say more rasanidhi, Say more vancha siddhi, Say more vancha siddhi, Say more vedera dharma, Say more vedera dharma, Say brata say tapa, Say brata say tapa, Say mora mantra japa, Say mora mantra japa, Say more dharma parama, Say more dharma parama, Anukula habe vidhi, Anukula habe vidhi, Say pade hai be siddhi, Say pade hai be siddhi, Nirakiba. Hare Krishna. Abhiram Prabhu, did we lose you? Is anyone else able to hear Abhiram Dibya Prabhuji?
No,
No,
Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Okay, I will just try to quickly connect with Prabhuji. Meanwhile, we may continue chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Abhiram Prabhu, you may continue.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Anakula Vivek, Anakula Vivek, Sepade Hai Besi, Sepade Hai Besi, Mera ki boy, Nayane, Mera ki boy, Nayane, Se Rupa Madhuri Rashi, Se Rupa Madhuri Rashi, Pran Kuvalya Shashi, Pran Kuvalya Shashi, Prafulita Habeshi Tene, Prafulita Habeshi Tene, Tuva Adarshana Ahi, Tuva Adarshana Ahi, Garale Garale, Garale Garale, Chirodina Tatita Jivana, Chirodina Tatita Jivana, Aharupa Korodaya, Aharupa Korodaya, Hamare Padachaya, Hamare Padachaya, Narottama Sharana, Narottama Sharana, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladev, Jaya Subhadra, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Ram Kirtan ki, Shri Rupa Mandiri ki, Gaur Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Aviram Divya Prabhuji and Nikunj Sitarani Mataji. Prabhuji, would you like to go over the translation for a couple of minutes as well?
Yes, absolutely, Prabhuji. Okay, so we'll go through the translation. The lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari are my treasure, my devotional service, and my object of worship. They give my life meaning, and they are the life of my life. They are the perfection of rasa, and they are perfection worthy of attainment. They are the very law of the Vedic scriptures for me. They are the meaning of all my fasts and penances and my silent uttering of my mantras. They are the basis of religion and activities. By the purifying process of favorable devotional service, one will attain perfection and with these two eyes be able to see. His transcendental form is shining like moonlight in my heart, and my heart therefore shines and reciprocates. In other words, the ordinary moon lights up the night and its shine illuminates other objects, but the moon of the effulgence of the form of Sri Rupa Manjari shines into the heart and makes the heart also shine back to the spiritual sky. This moon shines not only in the night time, but day and night. Your absence from my vision is like a dose of strong poison, and I will suffer till the end of my life. Narottam Das Thakur says, please give me your mercy and the shade of your lotus feet. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki
Jai.
श्री नरोत्तम दास ठाकुर की
Jai.
श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय।
Jai. Thank you very much once again, Prabhuji and Mataji. And now, considering Sri Rupa Manjari as the sole object of our worship this Satila Ekadashi, we will move over to chanting more of the Maha Mantra. We will have Anshika with the next Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Anshika.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. Thank you very much, Anshika, Ramananda Prabhuji, Jai Mataji, Arnav, for the wonderful kirtan. And with that, now we will next move over to another beautiful rendition of Sri Bhishma Stuti. And we will have Sevanandini Mataji, Advika, and Rasaraj Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Mataji, Advika.
पीता वितृष्णा भगवती सात्वत पुंगवे विभूम्नि मतिरूपकल्पिता वितृष्णा भगवती सात्वत पुंगवे विभूम्नि स्वसुखमुपगते क्वचित् विहर्तुं प्रकृतिमुपेयुषि यद्धव प्रवाह त्रिभुवनाकमनं तमालवर्णं रविकरगौरवराम्बरं दधाने वपुरलककुलावृताननाभ्यं विजय सखेरतिरस्तु मे नवद्या युधितुरगरजो विधूम्रविश्व कचलुलिताश्रमवार्यलङ्कृतास्ये मम निश्चितशरे विभिद्यमाना त्वचिविलसत्कवचेस्तु कृष्णात्मा सपद सखी वचो निशम्य मध्ये निज परयोर्बलयोरथं निवेश्य स्थितवती परसैनिकायुरक्ष्णा हृतवती पार्थ सखेरतिर्ममास्तु व्यवहिता पृथना मुखं निरीक्ष्य स्वजनवधाद् विमुखस्य दोषबुद्ध्या कुमतिमहरदात् मा विद्यायाश्चरणरते परमास्य तस्य मेस्तु स्वनिगममपहाय माततेज्ञां ऋतमधिकार्तुमवाप्लुतो रथस्था धृतरथ चरणो व्यया चलात् गुर हरिरिवहं तुमि भंगतो तरिया सितविशिखहतो विशीर्णदंश शतज परिप्लुता ततायिनो मे प्रसभामभिससा माध्वरार्थं स्वभवतु मे भगवान् गते मुकुन्द विजय रथ कुटुम्बा तथोत्रे धृतहय रश्मिनिता श्रिये क्षणीये भगवती रतिरस्तु मे मुमुक्षो यमिह निरीक्ष्य हताघता स्वरूपम् ललिता गतिविलास वल्गुहास प्रणय निरीक्षण कल्पितो रुमाना कृतमनुकृतवत्य उन्मदान्धा प्रकृतिमगन्खिलयस्य गोपवत्वा मुनिगणनृपवर्य सङ्कुलेता सदसि युधिष्ठिर राजसूय एषा अर्हणामुपपेदायीक्षणीयो मम दृशिगोचर एषा विरात्मा तमिमामहमन्तं शरीरभाजा विधिरिधिष्ठितमात्मकल्पिताना वृत्तिदर्शमिव नैकदार्कमेकम् समधिगतोऽस्मि विधूतभेदमोहा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद।
श्री कृष्ण देव की
जय।
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
We have time for the translation, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, you can go ahead.
Vishmadev said, "Let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, which were so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duties, in the all-powerful Lord Shri Krishna. He is always self-satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of the devotees, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world, although from him only the material world is created." Sri Krishna is the intimate friend of Arjuna. He has appeared on this earth in his transcendental body, which resembles the bluish color of the tamala tree. His body attracts everyone in the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. May his glittering yellow dress and his lotus face covered with paintings of sandalwood pulp be the subject of my attraction, and may I not desire fruitive results. On the battlefield where Shri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses, and because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go on to Shri Krishna. In obedience to the command of his friend, Lord Shri Krishna entered the arena of the battlefield of Kurukshetra between the soldiers of Arjuna and Dronacharya. And while there he shortened the lifespan of the opposite party by his merciful glance. This was done simply by his looking at the enemy. Let my mind be fixed upon that Krishna. When Arjuna was seemingly polluted by ignorance, upon observing the soldiers and commanders before him on the battlefield, the Lord eradicated his ignorance by delivering transcendental knowledge. May his lotus feet always remain the object of my attraction. Fulfilling my vow and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. May he, Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who awards salvation by my ultimate destination, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me as if angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was shattered and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds. At the moment of death, all my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original forms after death. Let my mind be fixed upon Lord Shri Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Vrajadham, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the rasa dance. You want to read?
At the Rajasuya Yajna sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira, there was the greatest assembly of all the elite men of the world, the royal and learned orders, and in that greatest assembly, Lord Shri Krishna was worshipped by one and all as the most exalted personality of Godhead. This happened during the presence, and I remembered the incident in order to keep my mind upon the Lord.
Now I can meditate with full concentration upon that one Lord Sri Krishna, now present before me, because now I have transcended the misconceptions of duality in regard to his presence in everyone's heart, even in the hearts of the mental speculators. He is in everyone's heart. The sun may be perceived differently, but the sun is one. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Shivanandini Mataji and Advika, for that wonderful rendition. The heartfelt prayers of a valiant warrior of such a great personality and devotee in front of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is worth remembering and relishing this Ekadashi. With that, we will now move over to Ekadashi essence reading, and I would request Satyendra Prabhuji to read our Ekadashi essence for today.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji, we can hear you.
Tapasya means to undergo voluntary some inconveniences of this body. Because we are accustomed to enjoy bodily senses, and tapasya means voluntarily to give up the idea of sense gratification. That is tapasya. Tapasya, just like Ekadashi. Ekadashi, 1 day fasting, fortnight, that is also tapasya, or fasting in some other auspicious day. That tapasya is good even for health, and what to speak of advancing in Krishna consciousness. So we should accept this tapasya. The upavas, there are many prescribed days for fasting we should observe. And the preliminary tapasya, no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no meat eating. There may be some inconvenience, those who were accustomed to this practice, but we will have to accept. Tapo divyam putraka yena suddhayet sattvam. Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.1. If we want to purify our existence, at the present moment, our existence is not purified, impure. Therefore, we are suffering. Just like when one's physiological condition becomes infected, he suffers from fever and other symptoms of disease. Similarly, we are suffering in this material world on account of this material body. If we want really happiness, then we must accept tapasya. Tapasya is required. Without tapasya, if you think that very easily, or without tapasya, I can get it simply by imagination, then you become sahajiya, to take things very easily. No, tapasya. Therefore, Krishna says that tapas chashmi tapas vishu. That acceptance of tapasya means that tapasya is itself Krishna. You associate with Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, when you voluntarily give up meat eating or intoxication, this giving up, this process is Krishna. Bhagavad Gita 7.9. This was said on Vrindavan, August 15, 1974.
Hari Bol. Satyala Ekadashi ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Thank you very much, Satyendra Prabhuji, for sharing with us the Ekadashi reading for today. And with that, we will now move to more chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And we have Mayapur Shashi Prabhuji and Amboda Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिने नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी प्रश्यतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य Hari Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mayapur
But
Shashi
we are
Prabhuji.
on time or we are early?
Prabhuji, we are good. Thank you very much.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
So Srila Prabhupada says that we should cry out to Krishna just like a lost child cries for his mother. And Prabhuji, Mataji, you kind of exemplified that. Thank you very much once again. And thank you once again to all devotees who joined us for this extended celebration of Ekadashi Bhajan Kirtan Seva, in addition to our regular Sunday program this evening. And we hope that you continue the same spirit. We all continue the same spirit through the rest of the day, this Ekadashi, and all other days, this lifetime and beyond. And with that, Jai Shri Sri Radha Krishna Chandra ki Jai. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maya ki Jai. Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Jagat Guru Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. We will be concluding our celebrations here today. Thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo ananta koti vaishnavvrinda ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.